now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Excellent. How are you? Welcome. Well, thank you for coming. I'm so excited about this. So I want to welcome everybody. Thank you guys for joining. I'm so excited to have this chat with Meg because I had a reading with her recently, and she took me all around the world, and I'm so excited now that I know where can I go and have fun, and what is the best place to be, and what places to avoid actually. So that's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Australia, I won't be coming soon. Anyway, so for you guys who don't know Meg, she's an astrologer who is actually amazing with astrocartography, as she calls it, because she's also a traveler. So she has an experience hands-on how the stars actually work when you travel. So Meg, please tell us more about what is astrocartography and how do you practice it in your life? How do you experience it?
Yeah, so I suppose we'll start off with my journey. So I'm South African,
Yes.
and I'm currently living in Ireland. I have lived in a few countries before, and I come from an expat family. So my mom's Canadian, and I just kind of was always fascinated by, what causes people to relocate away from home. And then when I started exploring astrology, I learned about astrogeography and astrocartography, and it just kind of blew my mind that like energy lines exist and these places. And like, if you've never actually even thought about going to India and you've always had this craving to go there, and then if you look at your line, that actually is the reason what's calling you there. So it's fascinating for me. And I suppose my own lived experience helped. And yeah, so then I started studying it and everything. I think it can really help people, especially nowadays with like, there's a lot of movement and travel is a lot more frequent. I know it is a privilege still to travel, but you can tap into the lines remotely, which I think is the biggest tip. So if anyone...
Yes. Yeah, you told me that, like, I don't have to go there. I can actually interact with people from those places and to have the same feeling, right? So that was amazing to learn.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. It's awesome.
Like I see my besties on here, Tash, and
yeah.
in Sweden, and she's on my Jupiter line, and we actually met here.
So what does that mean? Okay, so explain to somebody who doesn't know anything. What does Jupiter line mean, for example?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So okay, we'll start off with your if everyone's familiar with birth chart, right? So you get your birth chart. If you go onto astro.com, you can click onto locational astrology, and it's Astro Click Travel, and that pulls up your map of the world, and it's free. Everyone can log in and look at it. I think the thing that's challenging though is obviously astro.com makes the map really user friendly. You can zoom in and click on any link and everything, and you can see the lines and what they mean, but the text on the side is very generic because it doesn't take into consideration all the aspects that are in your chart and everything. So it's helpful as a starting point. What I find is a lot of my clients will come to me going, I know I'm on a Pluto line. What does that mean? And So and have a look.
You're right.
And see what line you're on. Then if you want to get within 250 kilometers of any line, so if you don't have...
Yeah, that's also important. Yeah, what is the parameter? Yeah. Like, so 250 kilometers for you. Okay, sounds good.
And it's like a mile, like in miles, I go with like 300 miles. So like you can actually probably get a little bit further than 250 kilometers, but I start with that range, and then we kind of look at it. There's a few other factors, like if there's more than one line really close to it, then that magnifies the range. If there's a zenith, which is like a little bubble, then that that means it's more potent and all of that. I'm trying not to get too complicated here because I think it's...
no. I know people are just wondering, like, for example, if if you want to find somebody to fall in love with, where would you go, for example? What line should you follow? So that was the most common question I got, for example. Like, where can I find, people always want to know.
look at you look at your birth chart first, and so obviously we know as astrologers, we know Venus is the is the planet of love and everything. But what sign is your Venus in? How do you actually like what is your love language? How do you receive love? So going to a Venus line for somebody with a Venus in Virgo is going to be totally different to a person that has a Venus in Libra, as example.
Okay, so we have an example here. So my friend Georgiana, she goes, I have Jupiter in Zenith in Mauritius. And what is your Jupiter in, Georgiana? Can you tell us? What does that mean, for example, in Mauritius, Jupiter in Mauritius?
So Mauritius is a country. Actually, my brother lives there, so I know where Mauritius is.
There you go.
But so if your Jupiter line is there and it's a zenith, that means that it's the midheaven line. So that's a focus on career and work. If your Jupiter
Sagittarius.
Okay, this is amazing. But now, what kind of aspects are to your Jupiter? So if you have lots of square challenges, if you have lots of trines and sextiles, if it's the ruler of your chart or the ruler of your sun, great. If it's, that kind of stuff, you kind of you have to kind of start small with just what is the sign, what is the house, and then, build on that story as you go. You're kind of creating this story around.
Okay, so for example, if she has let's say good aspects in Jupiter and Sagittarius, that would be actually a great place to go and explore her knowledge, maybe, right? Or expand her horizons, meet other cultures, right? She would find it benefic, right? So it would be good for her. Okay.
And so every line has like a high expression and has a low expression. So for example, Jupiter as an example, everyone thinks of Jupiter as the luck and abundance and growth and expansion and everything, but they don't talk about weight gain. They don't talk about overindulgence. They don't talk about driven by your ego or being incredibly lazy, almost like that things just should come easy to you. It really.
I was just gonna say. She's saying she has trine Mars square sun. I was thinking she's going to indulge and probably not do much, trining Mars, easy going, I don't want to move, and squaring sun, So yeah, maybe I see what you mean.
Right,
yeah.
Just on a cocktail on the beach. It's beautiful for a holiday. I think it really does. And what does she do for work? If it's linked to things that are travel, or she's got Jupiter and Sagittarius, so she probably does love travel. Any excuse. I don't need to tell you to just book a plane ticket to Mauritius. You're probably
Okay, so let's say in general, people what is the best place I know people have to live and work at the same place and find love at the same place and have a partner who has different lines. But in general, I know it's very specific, but in general, what would be the best place to actually feel like home? What would that be?
So,
yeah,
I think your moon lines obviously would make you feel like a belonging, but again, also depends on what type of moon you have. But yeah, I think moon lines are good. Sun lines often bring optimism and self-confidence and feeling really positive, the ability to shine. And so they're also great. If you are in the spiritual profession, like ourselves, Neptune lines can be really good. Neptune is a bit of a struggle to live long term, but for the most part, it brings about spirituality and enlightenment.
Yeah. You told me, you mentioned me when you were reading my chart, that it's a good way to go to have a retreat, like a spa, like you have a retreat, for some little period that I can, lift up my spirits, let's say. So that's a good way.
Yeah. So going back to tapping into the line remotely. So yeah, following people on Instagram that are living in that line, printing out a bunch of pictures as a vision board of images from that place, reading.
So we can do like a map. We can do our own maps. We can, cut pictures and put like a map of those. So it also gives us energy. I like that idea.
Yeah,
I think it's beautiful.
Constantly looking at and referring to, just to top you up, connecting with friends that live in those places, making friends that live in those places, making food from that place. If you have a passion for Indian with curry and everything, if you're making a particular meal.
Oh, food even, everything about it. I like it. Smells, candles, spices. I like the way you're going. I like this. You can travel from your home anywhere if you know your lines. I like that so much. Katrina is asking, she says, what are your thoughts, benefits of living on your Chiron descendant line? Because she goes, she's, I've never been anything positive. It's my place of birth. Okay. So what about a Chiron then?
Okay. So Chiron is the wounded healer, and it is a wound that is either inflicted on us, you know, pain, trauma by a situation or personal place, out of our control, and it is our trigger. So if you are on a Chiron line, you are going to probably feel those triggers a little bit more. If you were born on a Chiron line, that's an energy that, you know, maybe you're actually a healer of some kind, or have the ability to be a healer, or have the ability to sort of use that to your advantage. That awareness of what your Chiron wound is the first step. And, you know, it's dealing with relationships. So your relationships are karmic of some kind. If you're living there long term, and, you know, the Chiron DC line, it's linked to the relationships that you hold. I think also, Chiron is like, yeah, I mean, once you're aware of what your wound is, you have the ability to help heal others. Like, you're really good at giving advice to other people, probably not following your own advice. So if you're on that line,
usually that's how it goes. Yeah.
You're on that line, and you're finding it challenging. It's like just kind of being aware where your Chiron is, what sign, what house, and what are your triggers, and then kind of being maybe that, like, the next time that trigger comes around, you're like, I know what this is. This is Chiron all over again, and, you know, you kind of handle it a bit.
So what are your personal experience? Like, what did you experience? Did you travel by the lines? Did you purposely go, for example, on a Venus line or a Jupiter line to see how it feels?
Yeah,
did you do that?
I have been to a few of my lines. I've been to a Chiron line, and I found it hugely helpful, actually. At the time of my life, where I was going and everything, it was healing for me. I've been to, I'm going to my Jupiter line in a couple of weeks, so that I'm excited about, because I haven't been to mine yet. And I'm living on my Sun Mercury crossing, so that's helped. Like, this is actually kind of when I started becoming an astrologer, was when I moved to Ireland, finding my voice, finding, like, you know, how I was going to speak about this. I was born on my Saturn line, so trust me, I know what hard line are all of it. I've lived in my
but you naturally kind of moved from that place. It wasn't comfortable, and you felt you had to go, right? There's an urge, right? So I like that. Yeah, we feel it in ourselves. Like, I don't feel at home here, or something is not right?
Yeah, just total challenges. I think so Saturn's an interesting one, because Saturn gets also a bit of a bad rap, but the benefit of Saturn has come with time, for me personally. So the older I've gotten, the more I can appreciate what Saturn was trying to do. Yeah. It was a Saturn relationship.
I hear you. I hear you.
I found my parents very restrictive, and, you know, I found that whole growing up quite controlling and everything, but they were doing their best. They were looking after me, and I think I'm older now, and I can see that as support instead of restriction, which is what Saturn was trying to tell me, but I just didn't want to listen.
I know. We also need time to understand Saturn as we as a beings, as we grow up. So I understand that part. Yeah. So I have another question. Would the line activate a house that planet rules? That's a good question.
Would the line it depends on the angle. So each planet has 4 different angles, and then aspect lines. So if you look at, so when I say angles, like, your rising sign is your AC line. The opposite of that is the DC line, which is relationships with others. So it really would depend. If it's heightened if you have a planet on the closer to that angle. So as an example, my Saturn is in my 6th house, really close to my descendant, and I was born on a Saturn descendant line. So that means that's heightened for me. But if I was going to go to my Saturn AC line, it's opposing, and that kind of, starts getting a bit complicated. But yeah, you really need to just treat the line and where your placements are. So yeah, if it is close to your placement, yes.
Okay, we have another questions here. We have so many questions. I love this. People are interactive. What are your thoughts on local astrospace?
So local AstroSpeak is really interesting for people that, you know, if you're living in at home where you were born and you haven't really moved around, then looking at your local space is really handy. If you've relocated and you're further away from home and you find that you aren't really close to any of the lines, then I think refer to the AstroClick travel. That's a better option for you. But it is handy. Like, I mean, I have friends that have moved like from one side of the town to like the other side because
Okay.
so yeah, local space is good. Also, another thing to talk about is, you know, we look at all these lines and they're great for, especially if you're traveling, you can feel them activated quite quickly. And, you know, you don't have to be there for too long. But this is the map of Ireland behind me. Yeah, I'm maps too. But, yeah, if you're relocating for a long time, then you want to look at your relocated chart because your natal chart stays the same, but you can look at a relocated chart, which changes your rising sign and moves your planets to different houses, and that is usually like a last step of the relocation.
So you would cast an astrocartography chart for the place where you currently reside, not where you're born, for example, if it's different. Or okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, for example, I know you have a small child. So, did you take a look at what is she like? Like, do you go? Do you want to do something that would make her as well happy, or how does it go with kids? I don't know. Is it the same?
It's so interesting. So I have looked at her chart. Of course, I have. I think I had her reading with a friend of mine. I think she was like only a few months old. I was like,
yeah, that's what I did. I did the same.
And I've had her human design and everything. But so she's on a challenging line here in Ireland. It's a career line, but her Pluto is in her 10th house. So I feel like she's going to be a disruptor of some kind, anyways. And I moved away from home. My mom moved away from home. Like it's a generational thing. I wouldn't be surprised.
Prepared. So you're prepared, you know, like she's gonna move from home. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's how astrology helps. You as a parent are not gonna be shocked.
Yeah.
You know, some parents are like, oh, why is she leaving? Now you know, like, okay, it's in her chart, right? I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing. So did you in your life purposely moved to change to activate some lines, or was it more of just the life that gave you choices, or did you purposely had a chance to actually move somewhere to have a better life?
Purposely moved because of the lines, but the awareness of the lines sort of came later. But I have traveled purposely because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I have like interacted with people. You know, like so like for example, Mercury DC line is really good for finding a mentor. So my first sort of big investment in a course was with Heather. I don't know if she's actually on here, but she's based in Australia, and so she's on my Mercury DC line, and so I found her to be a really great mentor and guide for me. She was such a great teacher. So Mercury lines are really good for finding teachers. I've used lots of lines for things after the fact.
I like that. Yeah, that's so interesting. You can go really explore all aspects of life with a map, right?
Yeah.
And then find right people online to help you with specific situations. Like I know you told me that you know I have a good line in Colorado or something. I was like, oh yeah, I work with a company who has a headquarters in Colorado. It was so amazing. I was like, I didn't even know. So I do feel very good at working for this company for some reason. So that's amazing, right? So you kind of feel it, right? Okay, can you recommend any good books to learn astrocartography?
So the person that created astrocartography, Jim Lewis, was like in the late 70s. He's written a book, but it's a really hard read. It's quite hard. Mm-hmm. There is a Facebook group on Facebook. There's an astrocartography group that's really great. Cindy and Rolf like kind of run that, and they are really, really good at sort of answering questions. The best way is probably actually Martha Clark. She does astrocartography. She offers a course. I might offer a course in the future, but not.
Yes, I was going to ask you, can you please, because I know you, this is something you live for. You were always a traveler, and you just combined two of your loves, travel and astrology in one. This is perfect. Now it's time to
Yeah,
teach
yeah,
us otherwise. Right. Yes, I would love to have that something in the future.
yeah.
So highly waiting for that, waiting for that. That's amazing. See, of course, of course. Yeah, there you go. I think people would like that as well. Awesome. Um, what else would you like to share with us? Something I was just thinking. Okay, I know I was surprised to hear what places should I avoid, not maybe for vacation, but for long-term living, and why. So could you tell us more about that? What places, what lines are to be avoided, and why?
Okay, so as an example, one of the first things that I look at when I'm looking at your chart is looking at the elements of your chart. So if you've made up with, like, fire, earth, air, and water, if you have a ton of fire, do not go to a Mars line. It's too much fire for you. You do not need any more, like, you don't need any more heat. And the same if you've got lots of, like, water energy, going to a moon line might actually make you, or a Neptune line might just fill you with lots of water. So definitely look at what your missing element is. If you don't have going to your Mars line, won't be actually as bad as somebody that has a lot of fire.
So actually, for somebody who has lack of earth, like me, for example, a Saturn line is not that bad.
No,
It gives me structure and discipline that I actually need to balance myself out. Yeah, I like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And same with Saturn. Like, everyone thinks of Saturn as like, oh, father time, restriction, control, discipline, hard work, and everything. But it's an emotional stabilizer. It's really good for your health. It, like, it helps you, grounds you. Again, if you don't have a lot of earth, it does help you.
Yeah, right. That's a good thing. Yeah. And what would you say if you lack air? Where would you? Mercury, Uranus?
Mercury is good. Yeah, Mercury is good. Yeah, and like Uranus lines, I wouldn't say Uranus lines are great to live on long term, but they help shift your energy. If you're willing to take a risk, or depending on the kind of role that you're in, I've had a few clients that were like change makers, transformational coaches, stockbrokers. They've moved to the Uranus lines and felt like, lots of rewards with going to a Uranus line. But the problem with Uranus is it's transformation that's unpredictable, change that could be.
Yeah, you never know.
So you might not because you're just kind of always relocating. And I'm thinking of you, Jasmine, because you went to Vancouver and you had all those delays and
Yes.
everything, and you have
Yes.
this line there. So it's like,
Yes. It was amazing. Yeah, I had a Saturn line going there, and I had to delay. I had to stay there for a couple of days longer. I just couldn't move. Like I wanted to go leave, and I just couldn't. It was fascinating.
yeah.
I was stuck in a hotel room with didn't know anybody. It was just crazy. Okay, another question. Thoughts on living on sun line? Do we need to consider the aspects in a birth chart?
You do. You always need to consider your aspects in a birth chart. Sun lines are generally quite good. Now, look, I have a few examples of sun lines not being great. If they're, hidden, if your sun is in the 12th house, you probably don't want to be seen, and you might feel that's quite hard to be like out there and in public with the sun basically shining on you. Other clients that I have work a lot with one-on-one clients, and they have their sun in the 6th or 7th house, and they find it quite draining living on a sun DC line, as an example, because they're always giving their energy to other people. It is inspiring others and teamwork and everything, but you just have to really make sure that you're managing your energy levels, because you can just probably give too much of your energy to somebody else.
Now I have a question. I thought of this. So what about your chart ruler? So for example, he's who the ruler of your ascendant. So that's who you are actually. How does that help? Like that may be the most comfortable line to go to, right? Not maybe the sun, but maybe the chart ruler's line. What do you think?
Yeah, your chart ruler or your north node ruler are usually quite good, but then it always comes with a challenge, right? It's always like a lesson or something. Like mine, I'm in Aries rising. My Mars is conjunct my Saturn. It's not particularly great going to my Mars line, but at the same time, every time I've gone, I have had a great time. It's excited me. It's energized me. I have felt like a lot of vitality. I have also had a few arguments, but it's sad.
Yeah, now that I think of, I'm thinking of my ruler of my ascendant is Mercury, and it's conjunct Moon. So it's very where I'm emotional. It's very where I also communicate. So people and and all these friends and stuff. It's very connected with my emotions. Actually together. Yeah, it makes sense. I like that. Yeah, yeah. You have to kind of see what your chart and natal chart tells you, right? The story.
Yeah.
Yeah. They always tell me always go back to the natal chart. Whatever technique you learn, whatever you do, always go back to your natal chart.
Exactly.
Right?
Also try and not, because I know some people will like some people will move to, like, they'll go to a place for their solar return chart just to have a new outlook.
Yes.
And the same goes for relocating. Don't try and think of your relocated chart. Think of your natal chart first before you consider relocating. Just because the relocated chart looks good, you still have lots of steps to go through. Your natal chart is
You can't escape yourself. People are trying to escape themselves by traveling. You can't. You're still your natal chart, right? Okay, so another question. Do you consider the chart of the country or city when you travel?
I don't. But having said that, like, like, astrocartography is great for giving you advice on, like, oh my God, you're going to have success and fame. But then, and I use this example all the time, but my husband, he has an Aries sun in his 10th house, motivated and ambitious about his career. But his sun line for career is running through Somalia. So, like, it's unlikely he can travel there. And, like, I don't even know how do you start, like, sort of even tapping into that energy remotely.
Yeah.
It doesn't take into consideration, like, the climate or the environment, the political issues, or anything else about a country. So I wouldn't, I suppose with
Yeah, I know. I have very good line in South America, but the political situation is what. Yeah. Anyway, it's very hard, right? See, so you got a great compliment. See, you need to make those videos on the basics. The world needs it. See, something to think about. It's not a class. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think people love because many people don't have actually ability to travel physically for many different reasons, right? But there's not a reason for us not to experience other countries. And I love what you said. Find the pictures, connect with people from those countries. Eat the food from that country. So many things you can do to actually feel that. I love it. I love that.
That I did. I went to the plant store and I bought a Japanese fern. So I've got a plant called a Japanese fern, and it's just because I have a line in Japan, and I'm obsessed. I love Japanese culture. Go to the library, get a book from an author that's or a story that's written about the country that you're obsessing about. There's ways to do it, like, fairly cost effectively. You don't have to get on a plane.
That's true. See, yeah, I love that. That's so amazing. Yeah. I love it. So what else would you like to share with us from your experience about astrogeography?
I think so generally people know for themselves what's good, and so don't and I think with Saturn and Pisces at the moment, and we're moving into this Pluto and Aquarius and everything, like, trust your own intuition. Like, don't feel that you have to. Obviously, booking in a professional reading is going to help give clarity, but, like, most people realize where they should be in the world without me telling them where that is. So trust your own intuition for sure. I do. I live in.
That's my friend Katrina. She's a peer student. We're taking a class together with Matt, right? So she lives in Ireland as well. So you guys maybe live close to each other. You don't even know. There you go. You can connect and then have a coffee somewhere on the line when friendship is good, or something that you can learn from each other. Or something.
Amazing. I do love that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. Awesome. And what time is it now? I lost track of time. It's so fun to talk to you.
So 4:30 your time.
4:30. Oh yeah, she's in the southwest of Ireland.
Oh, okay. Amazing. Okay. We will have to we'll meet in the middle.
Oh, so you're north, probably more north.
Well, Dublin's kind of on the east coast. Yeah.
I need to go to Ireland. I just need to go. It's such a beautiful country. I never went. So I'm going to actually now find some pictures and, I think that's a good line for me for learning. I think you told me. I think Scandinavia, England, and Ireland. So I can teach from those people. Yeah.
Hold on, let me just double check. Because I always like to check. I do like to check.
So somebody's asking where am I from? I was born in Canada, but I lived my whole life in Croatia. Now I'm back in Canada. So somebody was asking. So I also had kind of two homes always. And those are both my moon lines, just different. One is the ascendant line, one is the other one is ascendant. So I live on my moon line. Remember?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just thinking, because of what I wanted to say about your chart was you have a Sagittarius IC, which actually, explains having like two homes, or, in astrocartography, looking at your what rules your IC. So, as an example, anything that's got fire, you're probably more likely to really enjoy warmer climates. If you have anything water, you're probably more inclined to prefer seeing water or being near water. So being, like looking at your IC is also a good idea to help.
Hi, Mila. So there's more Croatians in Ireland. There you go. There's another connection. See? I love that. I love how this world. What made you so interested in astrocartography? That question.
Yeah.
Katrina is my she's the best. She's a teacher in her life, so she always has good questions.
I mean, obviously, I'm an expat myself, so I relocated. My mom moved over to South Africa in the height of apartheid, fell in love with a man, and my dad, and moved over to South Africa away from home, and has lived in South Africa longer than she lived in Canada. And that always fascinated me, that somebody could move so far away from home and still be so happy. And so when I found out about astrocartography, I was just like, this just makes sense to me, because I'm an expat, my mom's an expat, I'm from a generation of expats, and just that's
you were kind of born into travel. You were born into that, right? To live, to explore. That's who you are. I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's interesting how life actually puts you to places, and you kind of find your home, and then you look at the chart, and you say like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. I know. Yeah, I have Mercury square Pluto. I love questions. Little investigator. That makes sense. You gave me some great tips on where to actually go, and even for example, I know you talked about where we can find love, but if you're already in relationships, you can go there and with your current partner, and then explore that place, and you have a lovely romantic time, right? So you don't have to always look for love. You can experience love with existing relationship as well, right?
I didn't actually answer your question about children's charts. So children's charts, I don't look at, I wouldn't worry about a kid's chart until their first Saturn square, when they turn 7, then they start activating. You will probably, once they're under your roof and you're paying their bills and you're supporting them, financially, and feeding them and all of that, they're living on your energy. So it's really important actually to look at what line you are on and what you could be transferring. Then that kind of answers another question. When you're looking at partnership, your partner's lines are as important as your lines. So if your partner is in a challenging line, that line could be challenging for you, as obviously in partnership, and then it can get transferred. So traveling with people, I always use the example of my experience when I traveled. I lived in America for a short time, for a year and a half, and I had a really interesting experience in one place, and then I traveled with a friend to another place, and he had a weird line there, and it ended up being an absolute nightmare was canceled hotels, and we couldn't we couldn't travel around and everything, and it was just because his energy was so bad in that spot. So if you've gone to a place and you hated it but you have a good line, go back there on your own and see if that changes the energy for you. It might have been the person you were with.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know how you go with friends somewhere and then you're there, they had the worst time, you had the best time. You're like, why? What is happening? Why? It was so good, right? And
Yeah.
that's maybe why. See, I never thought of that. So you can go, not just partners, but friends, whoever you travel with as well. They can experience it differently. Yeah, I know it's hard. It's hard to, when you have a partner, to find perfect line for both of your careers, for both of it. It's just, impossible, but you can always find a way
Yeah.
with connecting with people from that part of the world, like stuff like that, right? So that's always
Yeah.
helpful, right? I like that. That's
Yeah.
great advice. Awesome. Look, people are just loving this topic. Look at that. Look at that. Awesome. Even my husband joined. He took our kids for. So he's joining from a walk. Awesome. Anyway, I think that's it from whatever I have to say. I think you should all book a reading with Megan, and she will tell you in details. I love my reading. I know exactly what my bucket list is now changed completely. I'm just gonna put pictures on, and then we're gonna manifest the dates when I'm gonna go there. I wish you all the best in your virtual work and in your travels. I wish you a great holiday, because you're traveling to Jupiter line. It's supposed to be fun and joyful, so good luck. We're looking for your course. Now we kind of inspired you to do your course now. And any last thoughts before we close this little chat?
No, I think just like, yeah, I mean, you and I we're obsessed with like learning and information, and I suppose just like finding out the information, and just, yeah, even if you just message me and say, I'm on this line, what does that mean? Like, I can help navigate. That's no problem. But yeah, it's exciting. It is exciting.
I like that. Okay, yeah. So like a quick tip. Okay, I have to travel there for work. What's gonna happen? Like, give me like some kind of a clue. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Like a quick tips on. Oh, there's a new way of travel tips. People travel their bookings, hotels. Now we're gonna have a new travel tip.
Yeah.
Is that the line you want to go to? I like that. Maybe we should offer your services to travel agencies.
Yeah.
Tell them, guys. You can tell your clients, what line to go for a honeymoon. Do people come and actually ask, like, for example, where should I go for my honeymoon? Is that a question you get?
I had one of my close friends wants to renew her vows, and she's looking at different locations. So yeah, so I've had people looking at retirement. Quite a few people actually looking for
retirement.
I need to have a lot of writers. So where can I write my next book? I need focus, or I need inspiration. So where can I write a book?
That's amazing. See, guys, that's a perfect, like, look at how is this helpful? For what are you doing in your life right now? If you need like a tip, seriously, like for writing a book, why would you can write anywhere in the world, right?
Yeah.
What place would inspire you to actually finish the book? Amazing. Yeah. Love it.
And I had
so many great things.
I had one client, this is just a really random thing, but I thought it was kind of funny. He was a golfer, and so I mapped all the golf locations and what lines would be like good for his game, and like, challenging for his game.
Oh my God, isn't that amazing? Yeah, like I'm all the sports, like all sports, how some sport teams lose in this city and that city they win, maybe because as a team. Oh, that's interesting. See, so many places to explore, so many things to explore in this. Meg is all yours, guys. You know where to find her. Thank you so much for this chat. I loved it. Thank you for everybody for joining and asking questions. I love interactive lives. So I will post this on YouTube. If anybody misses it later, they can watch on YouTube as well. Why not? We live in a world. Yeah, we should use astrology for travel. I absolutely agree with that. Awesome. Thank you so much for all the compliments. Meg, have a good night. All you guys from Europe, have a good night. And have happy Easter who celebrates. And talk to you soon. Thank you so much, Meg. Have a great, amazing vacation.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.